Hey there, everybody. Happy Thursday, May the 3rd. I'm in College Station today. Actually, I've been staying here all week, but been down in Houston doing most of my TV shows this last couple of days. But today, I am doing ministry in College Station, so I do not have to go to Houston today, so yay. So hello everybody, welcome to the show. Let me share this with some groups here, and we'll get started here. Alrighty, I think that's enough. So hello everybody. Hello Sherry, hello Donna Lynn, hello Colini. How is everybody doing this Thursday? May the 3rd. Hello Nadia from Canada. So we'll get started here in a couple seconds here. Hello Sherry from Indiana. I think you're from Indiana, not Indian. Hello Angie. Hello BB from Canada. How is everybody doing? It's a warm day in College Station, a little bit humid today, which is more the norm. It's been not humid here the last couple of days, so I remember being here in July for the first time, July and August of last year, and it was very hot and very humid in College Station. So, but it's a college town, Texas A&M University. It's I believe the largest university in the United States is located in College Station. I love college towns. I love Purdue University when I went there, and now I get to enjoy traveling around the United States as well as Canada. I was up in Canada a couple weeks ago, so back in the States, and I'm planning to go back to Canada in July, around Niagara Falls and Toronto area. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get started. So today, first of all, I want to, it looks like I'm in the jungle. Yes, we are all in the jungle when we're dealing with Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab, Sherelle. Yes, we are. And that's pretty much all of us, because everybody that's in the world is dealing with Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab in one degree or other. So, yes, I'm in the jungle. I got some alligators behind me here somewhere, so maybe I can get them on the show. So, I wanted to have a shout out today to a couple from Houston, Texas. Their names are, and she may even be on here, I'm not sure, but her name's Patty and Paul Velez. I think it's Velez or Velez from Houston. They are celebrating their 44th wedding anniversary today. And back in December, they were not planning to have any more anniversaries. They were expecting to not be married anymore in 2018. So it's amazing to witness a miracle, and that is that they both got delivered from Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab. And that was back on December, I think it was, 13th or something like that. And it was very cool, the testimony, if you've watched it or not. It's been on my KBN TV as well as Uplift TV in Dallas, which goes out to the United States. And then it's on YouTube. It's called the KBN TV 57 show. It was the 57th show that I had done. And anyway, their testimony is really powerful because they were ready for a divorce and had a lot of arguing, had a lot of dissension, obviously, for 43 years. And Patty was just like, I'm tired of this fighting and striving. You know, I don't want to go into the new year with that. And the story basically was that she had been following me for about, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that, and had told her husband, Paul, about me, and he didn't want anything to do with me. He didn't think he had any problems. He thought it was all her, and that's oftentimes what Jezebel, Leviathan does. So ultimately, she had learned, when I was doing one of these Facebook Lives like I'm doing right now, she had learned that I was going to be in the northern suburb of Houston, in Spring, Texas. And she wanted to go. She wanted him to go. And yet she didn't know exactly where I was going to be because it was a private home, so we didn't divulge the address. They had to reach out to me privately, which she didn't do, so I never got to respond back. She had expressed an interest on the show like this, but I didn't see the comments because I don't go back through and see every single comment. But ultimately, what happened was her husband came home from work. She knew that I was going to be somewhere close. It was actually in Spring, Texas, and he didn't want anything to do with it. And so then she ends up going on Facebook Live to watch me when I popped it on live at 7 o'clock Central. And then she recognized like the staircase that was showing in the video. And she's like, oh my gosh, I know where Nelson's at. Can we go, can we please go? And her husband's like, give me that phone, let me look at it. So he looked at it and he recognized the same inside of the house. And so then he was not planning to go. He did not want to go, but the Holy Spirit changed his heart, and he came walking back to her and said, okay, we can go if you want to. And he was hoping she would have said no, because she didn't have her hair or makeup on, anything like that. And so she's like, let's go. And so she ends up combing her hair with her fingers. She ends up not having any makeup. He gets in the car. He's mad. He's angry because it backfired on him. And so he drives like 100 miles an hour in anger to get to the north side. She's thinking that he's excited to get there, doesn't want to be late. He is thinking, let's hurry up and go as fast as I can so I can get a speeding ticket so I don't have to go. So how funny is that? And the Lord protected him to go 100 miles an hour. He ends up getting there to the home. And I think we had just maybe started. I started giving my testimony, and they sat him out in the kitchen. We had about 50 people there. And he was like, well, I'm going. He was thinking in his mind, but I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to listen to this. And so he ends up listening because why? There's a speaker right next to him. So he has no choice. And he's kind of a little bit hard of hearing apparently out of that ear. And he hears the whole thing. And the Holy Spirit convicts him and says, yes, you do have these spirits. So what does he do? He reads the prayers like everybody else. He goes through it and he gets delivered. And she gets delivered at the same time. And they came up to me afterwards, introduced themselves, and were so happy. And then ever since then, they've not had any striving, any arguing. If they have any disagreement, it's a civil disagreement where they can come to a resolution. And then ultimately, she had high blood pressure for 20-some years. No more. Because they don't strive and fight anymore. How funny is that? When you don't strive and fight and argue, you end up getting healed. So, very cool testimonies, what the Lord has done. And today is their 44th wedding anniversary. So, we put kudos out there. I know Patty is a normal on here. So, she's probably doing something fun right now with her hubby, which is awesome. But maybe she'll watch it later, and maybe I'll let her know that I gave her some kudos. So anyway, they're a great couple, and I've seen them a couple of times in Houston. In fact, yesterday I was doing my Facebook Live from near downtown Houston, and I guess it was pretty close to where they lived at. So she was like, "You're right down the street from us." Oh my gosh, and she didn't. I don't think she saw me live. I think it was recorded when she actually watched it. So anyway, congratulations to saving marriages. That's what Restorative Freedom is all about, is to saving relationships, saving marriages. Because at least 80% of marriages and relationships are Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab people, where you have one person that wants to control and manipulate the other, and the other one gets hurt, and they ultimately can never get along. So anyways, tonight I'm going to be speaking at Rivergate Church in Bryan, Texas, which is adjacent to College Station, 7 o'clock. I did a little research on the church. Apparently, it was back in like the 1940s that the church was founded in Houston, and it was an Assemblies of God church, and then they in 1960 they ended up launching a church in Bryan that actually kind of reached out to the community of Texas A&M University and beyond. And then they changed to becoming a non-denominational church in 2012. So I'm excited tonight. We'll be there at 7 o'clock at Rivergate Church in Bryan. So today, right now, we are getting ready to start the discussion. The topic of the day is healing your heart after you've been Jezebelled. Hey, Patty's on. Hey, gang. Cool, I just saw it. Patty's on. Patty, I just talked about celebrating in your testimony and your 44th anniversary. So you missed it. You were late. But cool, you're on here now. So anyway, you'll have to go back and watch that. So again, gang, you can all say congratulations to Patty Vellis right now. she's on here. So say congrats on your 44th wedding anniversary for a miracle saving marriage. And it's a great testimony. It's been viewed almost 1,000 times, I think, now on YouTube. So powerful testimony. In fact, I've shared that testimony multiple times. I don't know, probably over 100 times now with couples, you know, especially the guys that are struggling, because guys oftentimes think that they have nothing wrong with them and they don't want to have any counseling or deliverance whatsoever. So anyway, hey, you're in Galveston. Congratulations, happy anniversary on your being in Galveston. So awesome, yay, yay, yay. So today we're going to be talking about healing your heart after you've been Jezebelled. So what I'm talking about is you've been in a relationship. Say you could have been married to someone, you could have had a father or mother, and that they Jezebelled you. What does that mean, being Jezebelled? That means basically being controlled, manipulated, dominated, made to think that you're the bad one, made to think that you're crazy, you know, basically going through a lot of misery. And in some cases, it's extreme stuff. You know, in some cases, like in mine, I had knives and glasses thrown at me. I had my arms scarred by a fingernail, and tremendous amount of verbal abuse for 6 years that I tolerated it, and waited and waited and waited for my spouse to get delivered. Didn't know what she had. Actually, the Lord wouldn't let me know. It's by design, basically, so I had to go through it, so I have an extreme anointing for getting people delivered around the world. So I went through it. And I know a lot of you have that are on here, and it's no fun when you've been Jezebelled by someone for sometimes a lifetime. You know, some of you grew up with a sibling, a sister or brother that hurt you horribly, and they're still operating in that. You know, what do you do when you have a spouse that will not get delivered, or maybe they vacillate back and forth, being nice to you one day and loving, and then they're mean the next day? You know, a person who has Jezebel cannot be consistent in their loving. And so what do you do? I know a lot of people, there's sometimes they're like, well, I'm never going to get divorced. I'm just going to suffer the whole time. And they do. And then they never come into their callings that the Lord has for them. They're never able to flow in the full anointing, because the Jezebel spirit wants to stop you, wants to shut you down. Ultimately, it wants to kill you if it can. And I've seen some women that have died when they've been staying in a marriage too long, where that person continually hurts them verbally, in some cases physically and sexually. So the Lord doesn't want you to be abused forever. You know, obviously at some point in time, He'll say enough is enough. You know, if that person, and I always, my position on any situation, if you're especially in marriage, is I want to save the marriage, obviously. That's what God wants. But once you make them known to them that they're dealing with that spirit, if they absolutely refuse to admit that they have the problem, that they're going to have any issues at all, that there is no such thing as a Jezebel spirit, or only attaches itself to women, you know, that they have that spirit of pride going basically in their life. If you've made them known of that, then if you're going to continue to stay in the relationship, it's not going to get anywhere. It's not going to get any better. You know, you can keep on praying. You know, I did as much praying as I possibly could. I fasted 21 days with no food, just drinking water. And it did not change my spouse. It doesn't override their free will. So I had to do something about it. And the Lord had me. He asked me to separate. He said, you need to separate, because when you separate, you know, what I'm going to do, Nelson, is I'm going to set up this worldwide ministry through you. You know, I'm going to bring your spouse's life to misery. You know, I'm not going to tolerate that. You know, she's going to obviously lie about you, say horrible things, and trash you to the pastor, and what she did. You know, but the fruit of the Spirit, the fruit of the ministry will become evident, and no one will believe her. No one will believe the lies, and that's exactly what happened. But had I stayed in that relationship the last 3 years, there's no way I would have been able to do this ministry. She would have stopped me. I couldn't have written the books. I couldn't have, you know, done what I've done. You know, she's still trying to Jezebel as best she can, but the Lord will not tolerate that anymore. So ultimately, I know that you don't want to separate from your husband or wife. I know you don't want to. I didn't want to. But my gosh, think about the alternative. You know, if you don't do something about it, you're going to tolerate that spirit. I get messages every day from a lot of women, sometimes men, where their spouses are just, they're horrible to them, you know, and they're doing whatever they want. They're going out and they can, fool around with other, women, if they're a guy, or they can act nice one day, be horrible the next, but they'll try to shut you down. So you cannot have any part of that anymore. Otherwise, you are tolerating that, and it says, in the Bible not to tolerate it. Revelations chapter 2, 18 through 23 talks about the church of Thyatira. It says, I have some things against you because you tolerated Jezebel, that woman Jezebel, who taught people in the church. And there's pastors out there that are tolerating Jezebel. You cannot do that. You have to stand up for what's righteous, what is true, what is pure. I know it's hard to do that, but you got to. And so let's say that you've gone through that process. Let's say that that person has Jezebelled you. They've refused to get set free, refused everything you've tried, and then you separated. And maybe they then have carried it out to filing for divorce, and they're done with you, and they're continuing to lie about you. I know what happens oftentimes is you do choose to separate, is that Jezebel realizes it has no more control over you anymore. So it wants nothing to do with you because it doesn't know how to love. It only knows how to control and manipulate out of the pain that they're in because of growing up with father wounds and mother wounds and or being molested or raped or having incest. So you've done everything that you have, that you needed to do. You've loved them as best you can. And I know sometimes it's hard because they provoke and provoke and provoke you to get you angry. And then you end up getting angry with them, and then they point the finger at you and say, look at you, look how bad you are, it's all your fault, blah, 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 which is a bunch of lies. So you've done everything you can, and then you separated, and now the relationship is ended. And it could be that it's your mother. I know that there's a situation where this mother has the Jezebel spirit, was horrible to her daughter, caused control, manipulation, blamed her for everything. She ended up getting delivered, the daughter, from the spirits, and ended up getting healed from bipolar, and that her mom's doing everything she can to continue to hurt her. So she really has to cut her off. You have to, at some point, say, enough. I'm not tolerating this anymore. And block them if you have to on Facebook, and be done with them, and then give them to God. Let God deliver them. Once you give them to the Lord, then it is up to them now, because in the past, you end up feeding into that demon by tolerating it, by being in a relationship with them, so they can continue to control you, and they enjoy that process. So obviously, that's not going to be a helpful thing to do. So once you've tried everything possible to help them, then give them to God. Let Him take them and do what needs to be done. In some cases, they don't want to change, so their life will become misery. Some cases, they could die. I have seen that. There was a woman that was a pastor's wife from Ironton, Ohio, and she refused to get delivered after her husband confronted her. She ended up dying from hemorrhaging from her mouth. She was only 32 years of age. And then the mayor of Ironton, Ohio had me come in there to do a deliverance session out in the public. So God is ultimately the one that makes the decision if they still live or not. But if you put yourself in danger by staying in that relationship, you're tolerating them, then you simply proliferate that spirit on them, and you continue to hurt you, and you are never going to come into any type of ministry effectively trying to do what you need to do. So once you've gone through all of that, and we've all endured relationships at some point with Jezebel, Leviathan, spirited people, whether they're our, spouse, whether they're our mom or dad, whether they're people at work. We all know people that are controlling, that are manipulative and dominating. So the first thing about getting your heart back, the Lord kind of showed me this morning. Again, I woke up at 4 a.m. after some good dreams, and the Lord told me to write a blog, so you can always go out to the blog. I wrote that. I try to do about one a week. I'm so busy, it's hard to do it. So, but the first thing to do is to understand what you've just endured. It's trauma. In some cases, it's extreme trauma. When you've got a person that you're dealing with that is, so strong in those spirits, it's like you are literally, living with a demon-possessed person. Even though people would say, oh, they're not possessed. Well, they could be, I've seen it in their eyes. They're very good at lying. People call them narcissists. That's a nice word for Jezebel and what they do, but that's the psychological definition of it. And but it's true. That's what they're dealing with. You're dealing with a demon. You're not dealing with a human being. Again, you have to separate out and say that's the demon, not the human. But it explains so much. That's the first thing. Is it's helpful for your heart to start to get back is to recognize that you were not crazy. That either you were dealing with the spirit of Jezebel, maybe in yourself, or they are, and that's what you're hearing, is they're hearing the voice, or you're hearing the voice of the enemy, and that's controlling them and causing them to do what they do. And so at least when you know the root cause is demonic, it explains so much, and it helps you to be healed. Because otherwise, there's billions of people out there that are dealing with these broken hearts. They loved a person with all their heart, and that person was horrible to them. There's nothing they could do to love them more than what they did. And they're like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? So many are just, they're so broken in their hearts. They're like, my gosh, I loved my husband. I loved my wife. I did everything possible, and they were horrible to me, and I don't get it. Well, once you understand that it's demonic, then you finally like, aha, that explains so much. So that helps your heart to go through the healing process, saying, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. Oh my gosh, they were the ones that had that demonic spirit on them, causing them to, whatever, lie, betray, throw knives, glasses, manipulate, control me, dominate me, blah, 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 blah. So it really helps in the healing process is to recognize, okay, that's the root issue. I'm not crazy. They're hearing the voice of the enemy, and it's because of the father wounds and mother wounds that they had, or they had incest, molested, or raped, and that is why they are hearing those voices, taking out their pain on me, doing what the demons are telling them to do. So, number 2, and this could be a hard part for people, is choosing to forgive them. How do you do that when the person was so awful, to you? Again, there's different levels. The more extreme stuff that you go through, it's really, really hard at times to do that, to do the I'm going to forgive them part. But how do you do that? I know the Lord showed me how I could see my spouse through his eyes. Actually, I saw it before everything came about. I saw it on my wedding night, because I saw that she was a different person, a mean person on my wedding night, and the Lord showed me. This is why. Father wounds, mother wounds. And I'm like, so I could have more grace to tolerate what I went through. Of course, it wasn't fun, but once you're done with the relationship, when you can look back, you can forgive them if you can see them through the Father's eyes. There's a scene in the movie The Shack that this guy that was hurt by his father, was beat up by his father, trauma, major trauma, went into a cave, and this angel basically was showing him scenes from people, making him to be God to judge those that needed to go to hell. And so he kept seeing these mean people that said hell, 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 hell. Then he came to seeing a boy, and he's like, well, that boy shouldn't go to hell. And then the angel basically said, well, that boy was your father. And then they panned back and they showed him getting beaten up by his dad, by his grandfather. So he understood it at that point. So that's what you need to do, is to ask the Holy Spirit to show you from his perspective why your person that abused you or was hurtful to you, was Jezebelled you, did that. And when you can see it from his eyes, it really helps you to then say, you know what, I can choose to forgive them. I can see them from God's perspective, from the eagle's eye perspective. And I can choose to say, okay, I forgive them. Obviously, you don't have to say it to their face, but ultimately you have to do that, because if you don't forgive them, you have bitterness in you, and then the enemy can torment you, and you'll be angry and bitter, and you'll never have your heart healed, and you'll continue to spew that out on people all over the world, wherever you go, and you will not have close friendships, because they will not want you to be around. Who wants to be around a Debbie Downer? I understand there's times when we need a person to cry on, we need a person to, share with, but limit that to like one person if you can. Don't bring it out on Facebook Live and then go off on somebody. We need to show a little bit of restraint in that. So, number 3, one must think back to all the pain that you've endured. This is a thing that I picked up from Dominic Herbst. He's a psychologist, Christian psychologist, with restoring relationships. I actually went through that, and my friend Tina is going through that now. We're both going to get certified on that. We're going to also help others to get certified with them, because it's a complete way of restoring your soul wounds that you've had. Your emotions, your thoughts throughout the day, and helping to get your heart back. And that is going back to the trauma that you had, remembering it, and then writing down a confront letter. When you confront the person, you don't have to give it to them, obviously. We don't expect you to do that. But when you write down and put it down in words how that person hurt you, how deeply that you were hurt by them, There'll be a lot of tears that will be cried, but through those tears, there's a healing process that helps. You know, some people have never ever done that. I never did that. You know, I had a lot more tears than I thought with my first wife. She was more the subtle version of that spirit of Jezebel. And I had a lot of tears. I cried. It's just like, it was so healing. You know, and some people, they may cry for a week. You know, when you actually think back to say, my gosh, I was so hurt. I was so hurt by this person, so abused. And I'll say this, those that have the Jezebel spirit, they will take an offense at the drop of a hat. And they offend people all day long. So it's just really hard to deal with those people, you know. And again, some of you, I know on here, have had that spirit and have since gotten set free. So anyway, it's really important that you can actually walk through that painful time of your life. You know, my pain really didn't start in my childhood. I didn't have a father or mother wound that was at all. I didn't have any of that. You know, I had a good father, good mother. They supported me, they encouraged me, came to my games, they loved on me. I didn't feel any pain. Now, they did have arguments between them, so I know my mom had some of the Jezebel spirit. Her mom had it, definitely. And then my dad had definitely the Ahab spirit. But my pain didn't come in until my first wife, my son, who had gotten touched inappropriately and showed some things by this boy in our neighborhood, and it caused him to do some bad things. Had to suffer through 10 years with him, so I had a lot of pain there. And then, of course, my second wife had some extreme stuff. So ultimately, that's when my stuff came in, and I had to go through that process. But when I wrote letters to confront, it was really helpful to deal with that and say, okay, it's now in my past, and I forgive them, you know, completely. Give them over to the Lord instead of taking it upon myself to be angry forever with them. So that's another way another part of the process of getting your heart healed from being Jezebelled. Number 4 is then listening to the Lord explain to you, you know, exactly what happened and why, and how He's going to use it in your future. You think about it, those that are gifted in the Lord are going to all have to deal with the spirit of Jezebel at some point. It's like par for the course. If you are anointed by the Lord, just like Elijah was, he had to deal with Jezebel. I remember it was back in like 2010, I met a guy who was a prophetic guy, worked with in the ministry with Robia and Scott and her husband James out in California. Robia had actually counseled my second wife. Robia was very gifted. She actually used to be a dancer for Prince and was on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show. She's actually making a movie right now, first time in since she's quit Buffy the Vampire to become a Christian. And so it's kind of cool. She's doing a movie, a Christian movie right now, and supposed to complete it in the end of May. So anyway, I know that this guy, he was very prophetic, and he told me, he said, Nelson, he goes, you're going to have to contend with the spirit of Jezebel at like an extreme level, because you have an extreme level of Elijah on you. And I'm like, really? I'm like, huh. Hey, there's a bird up there. Cool. Oftentimes I see eagles flying over, which is cool. I love eagles. Anyway, so he told me I'm going to have to contend with that. And I'm like, I don't want to contend with that. Well, I was thinking, okay, well, I started doing research on Jezebel spirit, and I started recognizing, oh my gosh, that's my first wife. Wow, my first wife, I guess she did have this. She had the subtle version of it, though. Of course, I didn't put 2 and 2 together about my second wife yet. I was still going through extreme trauma with her, and it kept getting worse, but I thought she was going to get set free before I'd have to separate, and she chose not to. So ultimately, he was spot on. You know, I did not know what this ministry was. I didn't know that it was going to come about to start to fulfill the prophecy with Malachi 4, 5, and 6, where it says he's sending Elijah. Again, I'm not saying I'm Elijah, but the Spirit is upon me, and there's a bunch of people that have the spirit of Elijah, to help turn the hearts of turn the hearts of the fathers to the children of the fathers. That's exactly what this ministry is doing, is getting people delivered so they can turn their hearts. You know, they can have the fathers get set free and then apologize to their children, and then have the children come back to their fathers, you know. And that's what I'm seeing. We're seeing this throughout the world, which is a great thing. So, you know, ask the Lord to explain to you, you know, what is your calling after you've gone through that. Most of you that have gone through some of this extreme Jezebelling have extreme callings on you, whether you may not recognize it or not. But you can't be like, if Elijah, if he would have stayed, you know, he could have been killed by Jezebel. She wanted to kill him. You know, just think when he called the fire down from heaven, and killed the Baal prophets after that, she threatens him, and he runs to a cave, and he's scared. And I'm like, what? Really? You just called fire down from heaven, Elijah. Don't you think that God could call fire down on Jezebel and take her out? So he didn't. He was scared. And then ultimately, the Lord anointed Jehu as king, and Jehu had, who actually ultimately killed Jezebel? The eunuchs, which are the men that she castrated, which is what Jezebel does in women, is essentially castrate men from coming into doing what they're supposed to do, to being spiritually strong in the Lord. Again, men that have Jezebel, they essentially are doing the same thing to women. So Jezebel's an equal opportunity offender, so put it that way. So ask the Lord to show you, and then of course take any ownership that you need to take ownership of. Now, I know oftentimes, I tell people, I used to have Jezebel, I used to have Leviathan. It was more the subtle version. It was with my first wife, and I had more of the Ahab spirit. And then before I got married to my second wife, the Lord delivered me from all of that, unbeknownst to me. So, anyways. And so then number 5, basically, make sure that you get delivered. To get your heart healed, make sure you get delivered. So go through the deliverance, that I have or what other people have, as long as they're effective, do it. I don't care, whether it's my ministry or another, but make sure you get delivered if you have any of those spirits on you. Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, the terrible trio, I guess, is what the Lord wants me to call them, because they are terrible, and they affect so many people. So many people don't understand the depths of that spirit. They think Jezebel is like a woman that tries to seduce and have sex with everybody, and oh my gosh, we don't have anybody like that in our church. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. There's people that have the subtle version of that. That's why they're striving in their marriages, because they're trying to control and manipulate the other person. So anyway, if you are currently, in a relationship with someone that's Jezebelling you, take action. I know it's hard to. Absolutely. I did not want to separate. That's the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted her to just be good. And because there were days that she was good, and there were hours during the day that she was good, but she could never stay that way. They can never keep that until they address it and get delivered. There's too many that are enabling the behavior by staying in the relationship and then tolerating that. And it's, I know it's hard to do, but at least when you separate, you can address it now. Now you bring it up a level, bring it up a notch and say, listen, we're going to talk about this now. Again, if you go to counselors, you got to make sure you go to a counselor that knows how to do deliverance of Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab. I know there's not that many out there, but I would suggest going out to my team, my personal ministry team. We have about 35 people now, 6 different countries. Just go out to restoredtofreedom.com and search for personal ministry, and then set up a session. If your spouse will agree. I know that a lot of spouses won't. But if you go to a regular counselor that doesn't know how to do deliverance, you're wasting your money, because all they're going to do is be nice to the counselor, kiss up to them, lie about you in some subtle way so that they can get the counselor to believe them. And then you don't get anywhere, unfortunately. Once you get delivered, then you don't need counseling. But that's where we are. So, and then of course, once let's say that you unfortunately go through a divorce. If that ultimately happens, which is sad, it grieves me, that I had to go through this. It grieves me for my ex-wife for her 4th divorce. She'd brought it upon herself, though. She would refuse to tell the truth and to deal with it. So it was what it was. So when you're ready to get into another relationship, it's imperative that you make sure that you are set free, that you are delivered, because if you're not, you're going to end up being drawn back into the very same toxic relationship again that has Jezebel. If you have an Ahab spirit, you'll be tolerating that. You'll be drawn into that stronger spirit, which is not healthy, obviously. So you have to make sure you get set free. And as you're going through that process of healing restoration, it's best if you limit your contact with people from the opposite sex, because you won't be completely set free, and you'll end up getting a relationship too fast, too soon. And then before you know it, you fall in love, and it's just a feeling, and they act all sweet and nice until you say, I do. And once you say, I do, you wish maybe I said I didn't. So it's important to make sure that you go through that process completely. And then after you do get in a relationship with someone, make sure that you are, dating them for at least a year or longer, because if you don't, then they can act a good game for a season especially if you end up getting married like in 3 months or 6 months. They can act good for a while, but they can't, it's really hard to over a year's time and or longer. You know, the longer the better, because you will see them on their bad days. You know, will they take out and blame you? Will they get angry? Will they try to control, manipulate you? It's no fun being controlled, no fun being manipulated by anyone. Trust me, I know most of you on here know that. So, you know, and again, if you end up, you know, dating for a minimum of a year, then you can get engaged and then make the engagement, you know, 6 months at least. You know, that way you've got time to see them when you're almost committed. I know a lot of people, when they have gone through, you know, say 2 divorces, they're very gun shy now of getting into a 3rd relationship, because they're like, listen, I have been burned twice. I do not want to go through another heartache again and be hurt again over and over and over again. So anyway, you can kind of test run it by seeing if they're pressuring you, controlling you, manipulating you. And if they are, then you know they're doing some things they shouldn't be doing. So they got those spirits on them. And again, I know there's a lot of groups out there that are called narc groups or narcissist groups, and all that is it's a high-level Jezebel spirited person that was hurt by their fathers and mothers, and that's why they're controlling and manipulating other people and hurting them. So those are the things that I have seen that have worked well for people getting their hearts back, you know, and then being able to re-engage with someone else that's healthy. You know, a lot of people have asked me, hey Nelson, wouldn't that be cool if you actually started up a dating site? You know, something, sorry about that, somebody's trying to call me. Something where people go through a deliverance session over time, and you know them, you've got them vetted out that they have truly been set free. Then you could have a dating site, you know, for them where they're healthy. They've been certified that they have been restored and they are clean now. And then that way you know, because obviously there's too many out there in the dating world, too many on Facebook that are liars, that are fakers, that are posers, that are trying to act a good game, trying to be on their nicest behavior. And then once they are around you, you know, I mean, who wants to go through, you know, a whole process of, you know, I don't know, a year, and then find out that, oh my gosh, that person's been lying to me the whole time. You know, obviously long distance relationships, when you're not spending much time with them, it's easier to hide. And now that we have the internet, and now that we have Facebook, and we have the ability for people all over the world to reach out, which I get hit, I mean, people hit me up all the time from all over the world on Facebook Messenger, ping, 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 all day long. You know, in most cases, it's legitimate stuff. You know, pray for this or pray for that, which is fine. But ultimately, wouldn't that be cool to have a site for those that have been wounded, that have gone through the healing process, gone through restored to freedom, gone through restoring relationships, and have come out the other side, and they're healthy now. That would be very cool, I think, to have. So, anyways, my schedule tonight. Thank you for your comments, Courtney. Thank you for all your comments on here that I've read a little bit of, positive. So tonight I'm going to be in Bryan, which is a city right next to College Station. It's kind of the center of the triangle within Texas. Center of Dallas and San Antonio, Houston is where College Station and Bryan's at. But I'll be in Bryan at Rivergate Church at 7 p.m. Central tonight. For those of you local that can come out, it's going to be a great night of freedom, deliverance. You know, awesome stuff happens when people get healed miraculously. So it's 7 o'clock tonight. And then tomorrow night I will be in San Antonio, in Bernie, with my great friends. I say they're the greatest family in America. Sid and Janelle, they are awesome. So if you are planning to go to that, I have sent all of you that have pre-registered the address for that. It's at a private home, so you can message me if you're interested in going. Highly recommend it for those of you locally. But tomorrow night, that's at 7 p.m. we're starting. It'll be a deliverance night. And then Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m. again at their home, we will be doing a training, an equipping, and an impartation for those that want to learn how to get other people set free and delivered. It's neat to see this grow and to get larger. I know that Janelle and Sid have done several deliverances. They've been registered with Restoring Relationships with Dominic Herbst. His ministry for several years, seen a lot of successes, but now they're seeing even more success with people getting delivered. So anyway, I've been to North Carolina, Donna. So I've been to Raleigh, Durham, back in December. So again, I will go anywhere. I just need someone that has a church that I can go to, or a large home where we can have a large group, so it's worth my time to come. So anyone that wants me to come anywhere in the world, at this point I'm kind of focusing on the United States and Canada, but I know soon I will be going outside of North America, but right now I'm focusing on those areas. And right now Texas has just been fertile ground. Lots of people are getting delivered here and set free, so it's awesome to watch. And yes, I need to come out to the Great Northwest and come out to California and Washington. So again, as soon as I have a large church or a large home group that wants me, I will set the time and date and come out. So, alrighty, well, I guess that's about it. In fact, if you want, I'll take you on a walk. That's what I'll do. Let me take you on a walk for those of you. This is really pretty. I've walked here several times. Let me show you. But it's interesting, on this walk several times, it reminds me a little bit of the movie You've Got Mail. At the very end, when Tom Hanks ends up meeting Meg Ryan, and he has his dog that he's walking, and they play the music Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I just envision that, you know, because I've seen so many people that have been walking with their dogs, and it just reminds me, in these little light posts that they have here, remind me of that scene. I always love that movie. I always love romantic movies, and you know, where it's pure, not where they're having sex and stuff. That's not good. So, but romantic movies that are clean. And so it's funny because I actually turned on the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow and played it a couple times when I was walking here. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. But there's the creek here. This is called Wolf Pen Creek. Wolf Pen Creek Park. In fact, maybe I could, yeah. Let me try. I'll show you here. Let me see if I can get it on my iPad, that song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I think I can. Let's see. Alrighty. And then I can play it while I'm walking, and you can actually hear what it sounds like. Oh, well, wait a minute. I'll see if I can, I lost my Wi-Fi connection. See if I can get it back while I'm doing this. I think I can, maybe. Yes, I can. All right, here we go. So, that will give us some music to walk by. You've got mail, songs, and then you'll have a serenaded tour. Here we go. Alrighty. So I'll turn it up here. Here we go. Ready? Can you hear it? There you go. There's a long intro to this song. So at any point in time, I think Meg Ryan's going to come, and there's going to be a dog. love the end of that movie. They're getting ready to talk. Here comes the singing.
That I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow skies.
Sorry, Sherelle. So for all of you that have been hurt by Jezebel, someday there's a squirrel.
Where troubles melt like lemon drops, way above the chimney tops, that's where you find me.
Wow, those birds are chirping nicely.
Over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow.
Here comes a dog.
Then, oh, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't
And there you go. So, there is hope. There is hope for people to have their hearts healed from being Jezebelled. And when they do, they can have true love as the Lord intended it. So, alrighty. Well, I will let you guys go. That's the end of the show. Thank you for watching and be blessed. Let me show you one more shot here. Isn't it pretty? So pretty. Alrighty, I will let you guys go. Love you guys. See you later. Bye-bye.